Welcome to Unknown. I'm Brian Webb with Trenton Hooker. On this show, we will explore the oddities of life, the bizarre, the mysterious, the sometimes unsettling. We will ask questions, hope to get some answers, and take you along for the ride. And today we're going to start with one of our favorite topics, 3I Atlas.
3I Atlas has fascinated us for months when it was first discovered. Now, is it a gigantic icy rock or possible sign of an alien intelligence? NASA today finally having a live stream event, which it says are new images trying to answer that question. Their conclusion, it's a comet.
We want very much to find signs of life in the universe. In fact, just a few months ago, we were with you and we talked about what we think might be the signal from ancient life on the surface of Mars, from our amazing machines that have been roving the planet for 30 years to look for those things. That is something that's really important for us to learn about and discover. It could be an amazing discovery if and when we can confirm that. But 3I Atlas is a comet.
Harvard professor Avi Loeb has been discussing this for months, and also his scientific work identifying at least 12 anomalies with 3I Atlas. He joins us now. Dr. Loeb, pleasure again to have you, sir.
Hi, Doctor.
Can you tell us your reaction to this event that NASA had?
Thanks for having me. An hour before the event, I was asked by a reporter, what do I expect? And I said, I don't expect big news. NASA will repeat the official mantra that 3I Atlas is a natural comet and that they were unable to process the data until now because of the government shutdown. I expect the high-rise image to show a fuzzy ball of light like the Hubble image did, but I hope to be surprised. And I must say that I was not surprised. This was exactly what we heard. And in particular, there were a number of images obtained by various missions, NASA missions, and the collection of images presented, as well as some spectroscopic data, include fuzzy images that do not add much insight to the properties of 3I Atlas. They have some marginally new information, but they don't address the anomalies, the 12 anomalies that I pointed out. And there was no mention of the primary puzzles that are associated with 3I Atlas, including the two most important ones, the mass being orders of magnitude larger than the previous two interstellar objects. Based on the size estimate we have, the diameter is so much larger that the mass is 1,000,000 times more than the first interstellar object, Oumuamua, and 1,000 times more than the second, 2I Borisov. And given the limited reservoir of material in interstellar space, why have we not seen 1,000,000 Oumuamuas or 1,000 Borisovs before seeing 3I Atlas? That's an important question that they don't even mention. Also, the alignment of its trajectory with the plane of the planets around the sun. You might say that's a rare coincidence, but that's what made it an easy target for so many NASA observatories, and they should have acknowledged the coincidence, the unusual, the puzzling fact. The point is that they are driven by the desire to say, it's a rare object, but it's pretty much similar to objects we know about. There is nothing really surprising. And what I would like them to say is a completely different thing. I want them to say, well, we know about comets in the solar system, but this one has a number of puzzling properties, and that's what makes it a very interesting subject for future research, for us to figure out those things, because we don't understand them. Why is it so difficult for scientists to say there are things we don't understand? They just want to pretend that it's similar to what we've seen before, rather than emphasize what we don't understand.
Doctor, you've gone over some of those anomalies. The one that struck me, because I'm a simple-minded guy here on planet Earth, is that changing tail. It's in the front, it's in the back, it's there, it's gone. Is that one of the main things that has stood out to you?
Yeah, and in fact, there was an anti-tail in July and August, and then the claim was that we see the development of a tail just for a brief period of time during September. And then in October, we couldn't look at it. And after it passed close to the sun, we now see both an antitail and a tail. Now, the tail is obviously the result of any material being swept up by either the solar radiation or the solar wind. And there are arguments that maybe this is an ion tail. In other words, that this is gas that is swept up. I don't have an issue with whether it's what it is, gas or dust. It doesn't really matter. But the understanding of the antitail towards the sun, the fact that the jet, I mean, there was one amateur astronomer that imaged it, and you could see it going 1 million kilometers away from the object. And so there are these jets, and there were 7 of them in one of the images. And what is strange about the jets is that they are tightly collimated, and the object is supposed to rotate every 16 hours. So then the question is, why isn't that rotation smearing the jets? You would expect the jet to be sort of wiggly, where it points in different directions at different times because of the rotation of the object. We don't see that. Again, a puzzle needs to be explained. I'm not saying that necessarily demonstrate that we're dealing with thrusters that are technological or anything like that. I'm just saying there are aspects of this object that are puzzling. And why not be curious about the puzzles rather than be arrogant about our expertise in recognizing comets, which is, it's the opposite of what the public really wants to hear.
Avi, I want to ask you real quick, coming up in a few weeks, there's a new film coming out, a new documentary called Age of Disclosure.
No, it's actually tomorrow.
It's actually tomorrow. Thank you. We'll have that corrected. But again, Age of Disclosure coming out, and the topic of conversation with UAPs and the government's role in that. Now, I want to ask you, as far in as we are into the second Trump administration, what is your read for the temperature right now with discussing UAPs? Do you feel like there's progress being made? I mean, I know that Representative Anna Paulina Luna has been working very closely with you on this topic, but do you feel like we're going to be having a closer resolution to answers, and that whistleblowers can come through to have the protections to talk about what they might know that is of national security and American interest?
Yeah, so the answer to your question really depends on what is out there, whether the government has important information that the public doesn't know about. And if it does, my sense is that we will get closer. These coming months, there is a good chance we will get closer to learning more about it. But there is also the possibility that there is not much there, that in fact the material retrieved from crash sites is related to crash sites of technologies produced by adversarial nations, and that's so there was a cover story invented by the intelligence agencies relating to that as alien technology, just to hide the fact that we know much more about adversarial nations than we want them to realize. So the question is whether it's a cover story for just human-made technologies produced by other nations, or we actually have recovered craft that were produced by alien technology from outside the solar system. And I don't know the answer to that because I haven't had access to any such data. If it exists, I think we will get to it. It would be impossible to hide it forever. And eventually, we will find it. We will find materials like that. We will find new objects coming along. We would detect interstellar objects that are technological. There will be no way. It's just like the Vatican was unable to hide the fact that the Earth moves around the sun. Ultimately, it was revealed, and the Vatican apologized and said that Galileo was right. In the same fashion, I mean, it's a delay tactics. If they have something and don't want and hide it from the public, it's just a delay. Eventually, we will know about it.
That's interesting, Doctor. So you think eventually human beings will be able to positively identify intelligent life out there somewhere, somehow?
Yeah, I'm confident about that. I think it's arrogant also to think that we are the most accomplished technological civilization. And it's our duty, it's my duty as a scientist to search for that rather than say we know the answer, it's very unlikely, or there is no point in investing funds and let's just search for microbes. I think we should invest similar level of funding in the search for microbes and the search for technological artifacts. But NASA right now is focusing on microbes and dismissing the importance of searching for technological signatures, at least in terms of the funding that they allocate to both tasks.
Avi, I want to ask you too, with this journey that you have been on, in particular, the last few months with 3I Atlas, what do you feel like the broader conversation needs to be having in the halls of science among professionals like yourself to where what's next for how we discuss these objects? And I remember reading just recently with one of your papers that you put out, the long and short of it, if we're only going to be looking for icy rocks, really, that's what we're going to be finding. But what's the discussion that needs to happen in science moving forward based on where we're at?
It's very simple. Just like AI systems are as good as their training data set, I'm suggesting that people who explore objects in the sky should have a training data set that doesn't just include icy rocks, but also includes technological objects. Because we launch such things, and we know about 100 billion stars in the Milky Way galaxy, 10% of them having a planet the size of the Earth, roughly the same separation. And therefore, it's completely reasonable to search for things that we produce, but also things more advanced than we produce. And if you include that in the training data set of astronomers looking at objects entering the solar system from interstellar space, we might find it. If you just include comets, they will always talk about comets.
Doctor, real quick, we're almost out of time. If and when, I always ask you this, will we have a final decision on 3I Atlas?
Oh, I think by the time it gets closest to Earth, on December 19th, just before the holidays, we should have a flood of data by then from ground-based telescopes and the Hubble and Webb. So, then we will pretty much know a lot about it. So not much longer to wait for, and let's just hope we don't get any unwanted gifts for the holiday.
I think definitely our Christmas plans.
He's going to leave us with that ominous thought.
Always.
Doctor,
always
you're great.
A pleasure.
Thank you, sir.
Dr. Avi Loeb, thank you, sir. I know you're a very busy man.
Thanks for having me.
See you soon.
Okay, thank you, sir. Wow, what a discussion so far, and where we're at with that. It just blows my mind every time we talk to Dr.
Yeah, we're going to find out more about it here in just a minute from another renowned theoretical physicist.
Dr. Michio Kaku is going to be joining us in just a moment, and we're going to get his take. A little different view, but still always fascinating.
And still always make sure you're fasten your seatbelts and put up your tray table.
Yeah,
got a long flight ahead.
Will E.T. phone home? I think that's what we're trying to find out today.
Welcome back to Unknown. We are exploring that mysterious interstellar object, 3I Atlas.
Joining us now is renowned theoretical physicist and science commentator, Dr. Michio Kaku. Dr. Kaku, thank you for being here today. It's an honor, sir.
Thank you, Doctor.
Glad to be on the show.
Now, we've been discussing 3I Atlas for some time now. It's fascinated us since it was discovered months ago, but NASA just held a live stream on 3I Atlas, and their conclusion, it's a comet. Now, they've also released images that were a little bit controversial, you could say, because of the government shutdown. Some on the fringes were saying that, there might have been some nefarious intentions with holding those up, but NASA laying out that this was just part of the process, and now they're able to do so. But I would like us to discuss your take, Dr. Kaku. What is 3I Atlas?
Well, the big question is, will E.T. phone home? In other words, is there intelligence guiding the trajectory of this comet? NASA seems to say no, but I think the final word has yet to be written, because this comet looks ordinary, but it's slightly different in terms of its history and trajectory. First of all, it's 7 billion years old, older than the solar system. It's had plenty of time to pick up different kinds of radiation, different kinds of chemicals, and its chemical makeup is slightly different from an ordinary comet. More nickel, more iron than a regular comet. And so we realize that it is a comet, but it's slightly different. And so then the question is, can ET phone home as a consequence? Well, I think it's still too early to show because of the fact that it's still in its trajectory around the solar system. But at the present time, it does appear as if it's an ordinary comet, a comet with a long, long history, a history of 7 billion years of going through dust clouds and different kinds of radiation belts.
Dr. Kaku, we've been talking a lot with Avi Loeb about this over the past few months, and he thinks that there is a fairly high likelihood that it could be intelligent life. So you understand where he and others like him might be coming from. What are some of the outlying factors that pop to your mind that these are the things that don't quite look right to me and may lead us down that path?
Well, you know what they say, if it looks like a duck, walks like a duck, maybe it is a duck. Well, this is a duck that is rather strange. It has a slightly different chemical composition. Its trajectory is not quite the usual trajectory of a comet, and it could be breaking up, we're not sure. And so the final chapter has not yet been written. Now, some people say that maybe 40% chance that it's extraterrestrial and it's guided by alien intelligence. I would put it much lower. I would say that maybe on the order of 1% chance that there's an alien intelligence behind it. But so far, we don't see any evidence of that. But the final chapter has yet to be written. We're realizing the fact that the trajectory, we're only midway through the trajectory of the comet, and the final chapter has yet to be written. But so far, we see no evidence of guided intelligence.
Doctor, could the age and distance involved here, could that lead to some of these anomalies we keep hearing about?
Possibly, given the fact that it comes from a solar system that is much older than our solar system, up to 7 billion years. Our solar system is only 4 to 5 billion years. It's had plenty of time to accumulate different kinds of chemicals that are different, giving a different chemical composition than what we see here on the planet Earth. So in other words, it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck. However, the final chapter has not yet been written. And so some people say that, well, maybe the aliens are simply holding off for a while, and then they're going to show fireworks later in the future. That cannot be ruled out totally.
Dr. Kaku, I wanted to ask you, with Dr. Loeb's work, he had this up a few days ago in one of the papers that he wrote, but I'm going to quote here from Dr. Loeb. Would comet experts recognize these visitors as technological artifacts if their training data set includes only icy rocks? So if we're only looking for rocks, isn't that just what we're going to find?
Yes, that's the problem with science. Science, you have to have an open mind to expect the unexpected. But sometimes things catch you off guard. And so here we're looking for a comet. We see comets in the solar system. So naturally, we assume that this is an ordinary comet, but it's not. This is a comet with a different chemical composition, a different history. And as a consequence, you cannot rule out the fact that maybe there's visitation. But at the present time, the evidence seems to indicate that there's no evidence of visitation.
Doctor, could we switch gears a little bit and talk to you about quantum computing? First, for dummies like me, explain what that means and tell me how it might impact humanity as we move forward.
Well, there's a new kind of computer that's coming around the bend now, a computer so powerful that it can crack any known digital code. This means the banks, the Federal Reserve, the nuclear codes are all subject to being broken by a quantum computer. Now, we're still years away from that, 5, 10 years, who knows? But already the nations of the world have a race to see who can get the first operational quantum computer that would allow you to break any known digital code. And this is sending shivers down the spine of many artificial intelligence experts. We're not there yet. We have prototypes. However, it is inevitable, we think, that in the coming years, somebody will have the ability to break into any known digital code, and they're not going to tell you. In other words, the first person to break into a digital computer with a quantum computer is going to keep it a secret. They're not going to tell anyone. And so you're never going to know who's the first to achieve break even with a quantum computer. But we're all trying. IBM, Microsoft, the Chinese, all of them are in this race. And all of them are mum concerning how advanced they are, because whoever achieves the ability to break into any known digital code is going to keep it a secret.
Doctor, if they go rooting around in my bank account, they won't find much. But anyway, can you boil this down, though? The way I understand quantum physics, which I assume is part of this, is that logic and science kind of break down at the ultimate small infinitesimal level. Can you give us a layman's explanation on that?
Yeah, think of an atom that spins like a top. You have a north pole and a south pole. So two orientations of a spinning top. That's like a computer. A computer is digital. It's either on or off, like a spinning top. Now, think of a quantum computer that can be up, down, and anything in between.
Wow.
How much more powerful are you? In principle, you are infinitely more powerful than a digital computer, which is up and down, can only calculate up and down, because a quantum computer can calculate in any orientation of the atom. And that's what's causing shivers up the spine of the CIA. The CIA has already got the word out that, yes, they're looking into this question. In fact, all the big boys are looking into this. The Chinese, for example, even have claimed to create a quantum computer that is billions of times more powerful than an ordinary computer. However, there's a catch. All the press releases you see so far, they're not reproducible on a large scale. It means that this computer on one calculation is billions of times better and faster than an ordinary computer, but it's not general. So we're not there yet. We do not yet have an all-purpose quantum computer that can compute at will. We're not there yet. But when we're there, watch out.
Dr. Kaku, this weekend, 60 Minutes had a report from Anthropic talking about their AI tool, Claude, and how it was able to manipulate a scenario that they had where it was even inventing a relationship to try to blackmail. Right. Someone who was the target that they felt was threatened by the AI. Now, we just laid out with quantum computing the danger and the threat that can come with pretty much taking over every security measure that we think we're safe from. But can you talk a little bit about these AI systems, and coupled with quantum computing, what does that look like for humanity? Are we doomed?
No, we're not doomed. We're not there yet. But there's a race to see who can attain this capability. So far, the quantum computers that we have can only do one calculation at a time. I repeat, one calculation at a time. Sure, it could do one calculation billions of times faster than an ordinary computer. But for the next calculation, you have to tear it down, rewire it, put the transistors and the lasers in a different orientation. And that takes hours and hours to do that. We do not yet have an all-purpose quantum computer where you simply give it a question and it simply rewires itself and then gives you the answer. We're not there yet, but watch out, because when it does happen, it's a game changer. Now, right now, our most advanced quantum computers, we're only talking about maybe a few hundred quantum computers working simultaneously. What you really need is thousands. Once you have thousands of these chips, these quantum chips working simultaneously, then watch out. That's when you have a game changer.
Doctor, we have less than a minute left. Tell me, what's the biggest threat, aliens or AI?
Well, alien threat is still hypothetical. We're not there yet. We don't know whether or not they're simply rocks from outer space that are whizzing through the solar system. We don't know. AI is a big question mark. Is for good or evil? You realize that any technology is a double-edged sword. Computers, yes, they can do all sorts of things. They can rearrange your bank account. They can do all sorts of wonders with the finance and the stock market, but watch out. They can also be used to break into other people's codes and steal secrets. So any technology is a double-edged sword. The question is, do we have the wisdom and the political savvy to be able to police this? That's the question. It's inevitable that we're going to have quantum computers that are incredibly fast. The question is, will we have the wisdom to be able to monitor and control these quantum computers? That's the question.
Dr. Michio Kaku, it's been an absolute pleasure joining us this afternoon, sir. Love this discussion.
Great stuff, sir.
Very
Thank you for joining us.
Hope to have you again on Unknown very soon.
Okay, thank you. We'll talk about the future, your future.
Let's do it. Thanks for joining us on Unknown. We'll be back with more interesting topics and hope you can join us.
To follow along at home, go to our Fox 10 YouTube page, subscribe, and you'll find all things unknown.